My name is Jothi Prakash. I am a senior principal product manager here at Oracle. I am part of the OCI Virtual Cloud Network and Network Security team. Welcome to this session on network traffic telemetry to meet your security and operational needs. In this session today, we are going to look at what are all the native OCI capabilities available to you to capture the network traffic telemetry for your business needs. Network traffic telemetry requirements is not something new. Whether your environment is on-prem or public cloud, that requirement always existed. But when those capabilities are natively offered by the public cloud provider itself, then it makes it cost-effective and operationally much more efficient. So we will start today's session with the need for the network traffic telemetry, right? So what are all the primary drivers for it and different categories that we see across the customers? Then we will move on and look at the capabilities that are available today in OCI to meet those traffic telemetry requirements. There are some capabilities which will be coming soon, and those are highlighted in the presentation as we go through, and I will also mention those during the talk track. Then we will look at what options to use for what use cases. That is the most important part. When you use the right set of tools and features for the specific requirements, then it makes it easier and much more efficient. Then we will go into the partner product integrations, how you can extend and integrate these capabilities with third-party products for analytics and further analysis. So that's going to be the presentation today. First, let's start with the need for the network traffic telemetry. The traffic telemetry requirements can be broadly classified under 4 different categories. The first and foremost is the most common one that we see and hear from customers is the ability to identify traffic anomalies. Here they collect the traffic telemetry from different parts of the network. Most common ones are traffic coming from internet or traffic coming from outside the environment or on-prem, and then be able to do analysis based on that. The second use case is to detect the traffic patterns, right? Understand the traffic pattern, understand the geographical distribution of where the traffic is coming from. This allows you to optimize your network or plan for the future expansion and such. So this is the operational use cases for which this requirement comes up. The third category is around troubleshooting, either the network performance issues or application performance issues. So typically when you have a complex issue and you are trying to troubleshoot, it is important to get deeper understanding of the network traffic and what is happening in the network. And even it can be an application layer problem. So we'll see how to use the various capabilities here. The fourth category is tracking regulatory and compliance requirements. So you may have needs to archive specific parts of the network traffic telemetry for specific audit purposes. So this archival requirements and how long you need to retain will vary depending on the regulatory compliance that you are trying to track. So this is the fourth category which we see commonly. Now let's move on to see what are all the native OCI capabilities available to you to get the traffic telemetry. The first and foremost, which is the most common one and mostly used by customers, is the flow logs. The flow logs give you a metadata about the network traffic that is going through in your environment. So in OCI, you can enable flow logs at various levels. Today, in the current available version of the flow logs in the OCI, you can enable it at a subnet level. And when you enable it at a subnet level, the traffic is captured for all traffic telemetry, and the flow logs data is generated for all traffic in that subnet, right? You can also, in the future, actually, you can enable it at a VCN level as well. VCN is a higher level hierarchy than the subnet. And when you enable at a VCN level, then we will generate the flow logs for all resources in all subnets in that VCN. This may be required in certain scenarios where you have that entire VCN dedicated for regulatory or compliance purposes and you want to automatically generate flow logs for certain type of traffic. You can also enable traffic at a resource level. So this is another capability that will be coming soon, where you can specify specific set of compute instances or a set of load balancers and such, and then generate the flow logs only from those resources in your environment. And the controls that you have to reduce or exactly capture the traffic telemetry that you need, we will be providing filtering capabilities where you can specify what for what traffic you want to generate the flow logs for. And these filters will be specified using standard phi tuples, and the traffic will be generated for the matching phi tuple. We will also be supporting sampling. Sampling in the sense where you want to generate flow logs for a subset of the matching traffic. This is useful in certain use cases. When we go through the use cases, we will exactly highlight where this sampling can be used. And you can specify you want to generate flow logs for 1 in 100 flows or 1 in 10 flows. All these flow logs are exported to the centralized OCI logging platform, and where all the logs are aggregated. This becomes the central repository, and all these flow logs are exported every minute to that centralized repository. From there, you can do various types of analysis. You can export it out. We will go through all that during the use case. Then the most common mechanism to take the flow logs out for analysis is the streaming option. So we have native integrated solutions that are available within OCI that will allow you to stream these flow logs to the third-party tools or other solutions. So we will see that as we go through this presentation. The second type of capability that we have is the virtual tap. Virtual tap, you might be familiar with the tap and span functionality in your on-prem, where you use those in order to create a copy of the packet. The virtual tap is the same thing in the cloud. So when you configure virtual tap and when you enable virtual tap, we will copy the packets, create a copy of the packets, and you can send these copy of the packets to a set of tools for analysis. So you can enable the packet capture or the packet mirroring for specific set of resources in your environment. These resources can be compute instances, can be load balancers, can be database endpoints. So you can turn on the packet mirroring, and then the copy of the packet will be created and then will be sent to the destination. Again, to control the volume of the traffic, because you are doing a mirroring of the full packet, you can easily overrun the exhaust the bandwidth that you have. So in order to control that, we provide certain capabilities like filtering, where you can specify for what traffic you want to create a copy, right? And these filtering is usually specified by the standard phi tuples, and you can include or exclude those matching criteria, and then the traffic will be mirrored based on that capture filter criteria that's specified. In addition to that, we do have advanced options to control the traffic volume. So we support packet truncation. So there may be scenarios where you don't want the full payload. You want only deep headers so that you can do much more broader analysis. So you can do packet truncation. So you can say, I want only the first 512 bytes of the packet. I don't care about the rest. Or you can say you want 256 bytes of the packet. So only that specific set bytes of the packets will be replicated and then sent to the external tools. We also have what is called as the priority mode. In the priority mode, generally the copied traffic is given lower priority. That is the default behavior. This is set in this fashion to avoid dropping production traffic in case of congestion. So the first priority, we will drop the mirrored traffic, and so we are giving higher priority to your actual production traffic. But you can change this setting in certain cases where you have a strong security requirement and you want to treat the mirrored packet in similar to your production traffic. You can change this priority mode and you can keep it as the same as the production traffic. In all these cases, actually, the software that is required to receive the copied packets and then do the analysis, that you need to bring your own software for that purpose. And this software can be installed on a bare metal instance or can be installed on a virtual machine. And when you are sending the copy of the packets, actually you will send it to a network load balancer, and then you will assign the software tool that's analyzing these packets as a backend to the network load balancer. In this way, you are able to extend in a scalable fashion. You can horizontally scale. So if your traffic volume increases, then you can bring in additional instances and then deploy those. So it makes it very easy for you to horizontally scale. The third option that we have is the access logs that are available from certain type of resources. The common ones that you use in your environment, for example, let's start with the load balancer. Load balancers have something called as the access logs. And the access logs provide information about the connections that are coming into the load balancer. And a lot of the times, this information, the access log information, is not just restricted to the standard layer 3 and layer 4 information, but can also include about layer 7 data. For example, what is the URL that is being accessed? What is the TLS protocol version that is being used? What is the certificate looks like? So you can get all this from the access logs. So load balancer has the access logs. WAF access logs include information about specific type of events that are being mitigated or the policy actions taken. So it goes even deeper, and this gives you richer information about the security aspects that's happening in your environment. We also recently announced our network firewall service, and the network firewall service has its own access logs as well. So which includes disposition of the traffic that it takes, and as well as if there are security incidents that is being monitored or actions are being taken based on certain security incident that's happening, then the access logs includes information about those as well, which can be used for analysis. Similar thing applies for the web application acceleration as well. WAA logs provides the similar set of metadata for you to do this analysis. So in summary, if you look at the native capabilities, there are three things. You have the flow logs, you have the virtual tap, and you have the access logs. Combination of these three creates a powerful set of capabilities for you to gain insights into the network traffic that's going in your environment and use it for various use cases. This is a perfect transition for us to move into the use cases and the use case descriptions. Let's start with the first use case, which is detecting the traffic anomalies. This is the most common request we get from the customers, where the requirement is, I want to be able to capture my traffic or information about all traffic coming from outside the OCI environment. That's a common one. Anything coming from internet or the traffic going to internet, even if you are using a NAT gateway, or traffic coming from outside environments. It can be even your on-prem or even from your partner sites connected via VPN. I want to be able to look at those metadata and then perform traffic analysis, baseline the traffic, and then detect if there is anomalous activities happening. So the common or the in this use case, we recommend starting with the combination of a flow logs. So the flow logs can be enabled at specific resource level or at subnet or VCN level. So depending on what your requirements are with the specific filter, right? So you need to be able to say generate flow logs only for the traffic coming from outside the environment. You can do that using the filtering. And along with that, use the network firewall or network firewall or load balancer access logs or WAF access logs. So you can use the combination of these access logs with the flow logs to achieve this use case. So you are ingesting these logs into the OCI logging. And then from there, depending on the third party tool, let's say the most common use case here is using a third party SIM tool, which is security incident event management tools, where you are ingesting all these logs and which is doing a centralized analysis. The same SIM tool might also be ingesting logs from your on-prem environment as well. So from the OCI logging, you can use Service Connector Hub and the streaming service in order to stream these logs in near real time to your SIM systems, right? And the OCI streaming service uses standard protocols like Kafka in order to stream the logs to your SIM systems. And the SIM systems, most of them today do support these modern protocols like Kafka, which is very scalable, and you can make it really quick analysis, right? And most important part is these flow logs and the access logs, they all have a common schema. So they all have specific set of schema. It's in a JSON format. It is easily understood by the programmatic uh, processing systems, and you can use it and analyze it in a programmatic fashion. And to augment this, so once if you detect an anomaly, let's say, and you want to go deeper and find out what is happening, now you can use the VTAP functionality to do a targeted packet capture from those resources and then do a deep packet analysis and identify exactly what is happening. So when you use VTAP, you get the payload level information and then you can use it for much deeper analysis. The second use case is about identifying network patterns. A lot of the times you have a need to understand from where the traffic is coming from. I want to understand the geographical distribution of the traffic, or I want to create a traffic heat map so that I can identify hot zones in my network, and then I can use that for my planning purposes or for optimization purposes. So in this situation, we recommend starting with the flow logs. Flow logs gives you that rich set of metadata to understand that traffic pattern. And this is one scenario where if you want to optimize the traffic, if the traffic volume is too much and the flow log volume you want to optimize as well, you can use this in conjunction with the sampling capability of the flow log. And you can generate flow logs for only, like, let's say 1 in 10 flows or 1 in 100 flows, depending on the volume. And then you can still use the heuristic analysis to get a good insights into what is happening. So these things you can again use third-party tools for analysis, or in OCI, we have log analytics service. So you don't have to even use a third-party tool. And what you are seeing in the screenshot here is a chart and graph generated by analyzing the flow logs with our OCI log analytics platform, and then providing the insights that you need. So you are not restricted to these set of graphs, but you can bring you can do customization and bring much more customizable charts and graphs in the OCI log analytics platform. And then you can get rich insights and information based on the flow logs for this use case. Here is another example of where we have analyzed the access logs specifically from our network firewall platform using the OCI log analytics and then providing you the information. If you look at the chart on the right, you are seeing the specific distribution of the attack patterns seen by the network firewall service. So you are seeing what percentages of attack belong to what category, and that's what is broken down in this view. And then it gives you that you can see clearly what type of attacks are commonly occurring, and then you can take some actions and precautions and mitigative steps based on that. If you look at the chart on the left, so you will see that it's the traffic distribution, right? So you are looking at the protocol distribution of the chart of this, and then you can see what protocol is there in your network, and then you can use that to understand the traffic patterns as well. So this is an example of how you can use flow logs or access logs in conjunction with OCI log analytics platform and then gain the insights. So in this case, we are not even going to any third-party tool, so makes it very easy and quick in order to get such insights. The next use case is about troubleshooting and diagnostics. There are many scenarios where you need to go deeper and troubleshoot a particular issue. Your standard metrics or things that you are looking at is not giving an indicative guidance on what exactly is happening. So you need to do a deeper analysis. So in this case, you are using metrics. The metrics are available from various OCI resources. These are standard metrics and they are sent to OCI monitorings. These may be metrics like what is the traffic volume, packet counters, packet drops that might be happening in a particular resource, connection information or connection count, active connection count, connection drops, connections per second, connection rate coming in. So you have all these type of metrics depending on the various resource types. You have these metrics that are available. So you can create alerts based on these metrics. So when a specific type of alert happens or an event happens, you want to drill down deeper into what exactly is causing this and then get to the root cause of it. So in that scenario, you can use VTAP in conjunction with these metrics. So when certain alerts or event happen, then you enable packet capture for the specific set of traffic on specific resources. These can be compute instances, these can be load balancers, and then send it to the analysis tools for further analysis and identify what is happening. For example, you are constantly receiving complaints that a specific application is having higher latency. You are looking at the network layer, everything seems fine, but something is happening. So you may want to do a full packet capture, look at whether there are response issues that are happening within the application layer or deep within the network. So you can look at what is happening and then can identify those problems. The fourth one is about regulatory compliance and audit. There are many scenarios in enterprises as well as in public sector where you need to archive certain type of traffic for regulatory purposes. So these archival requirements could be in years, and you may have to retain it, and when needed, you need to be able to retrieve it and be able to analyze it and prove certain things. So in this case, actually, again, the flow logs and access logs will become good candidate to start with. So you can capture the traffic that you are interested in. You don't have to capture everything. You may have the requirement to capture only the traffic going inside and outside. Let's take a common example like a PCI scenario where you want to prove that none of your PCI resources are communicating to non-PCI resources. These may be in a subnet, in a VCN, depending on how your deployment is. So you can enable flow logs at this level, and then you can also enable the access logs, if at the boundary, at the perimeter of your network, these may be the load balancers, these may be firewall. So you can then monitor all the traffic going outside of this BCN, right? And then you can uh, capture these with the help of, again, Service Connector Hub, which has a native integration with the object store. You can move the traffic telemetry logs from the OCI logging to the object store. So now you have saved these things in a programmatic JSON format for future analysis. And depending on how long you need to retain, you can use the appropriate storage tier to optimize your cost as well. So that becomes very interesting. And when and as needed, there may be time when you need to prove a certain audit. So you can retrieve the right set of logs that you have archived, and then you can analyze it using your standard security tools or any tools, because these are programmatic JSON format, which can be, and it's a well-known schema, well-published schema, so it's easy to process those and analyze those. Now that we have seen all the mechanisms and the use cases available to you in order to get the traffic telemetry and insights into what is happening in the network, there are partner product integrations that helps you augment your analytics and analysis. For example, as we talked earlier, if you want to identify traffic anomalies that are detect traffic anomalies, one of the common tools that we see that is being used by many customers is Splunk. Splunk as the SIM system. So Splunk, you can take the flow logs or access logs and then ingest into Splunk for your analytics and analysis. The other example, if you take full packet capture, you are doing a full packet capture, there are multiple tools that does the full packet analysis, where you can ingest these and then do the analysis. It can be security analysis, it can be performance analysis, and we have many partners in that area. So just to name a few, Axidian, NetScout, these are all common ones which can take in the full packet capture and then do all these analysis. Even though we have well-known partner products here, and then these are integrated into our solution and available via our marketplace, you are not limited to these third-party products alone. If you have your own set of third-party product and that you want to bring in and then integrate with the traffic telemetry that is being streamed or available via object store, it is pretty easy to do that as well. Some of our customers have used functions, for example, Oracle functions, and then ingested the traffic telemetry from the OCI logging to these functions, do their own conversion into a format, and then ingest it into their own set of third-party tools. That is also a very common use case. So bringing in your own third-party tools and integrating for the use case and the requirements that you have is also done pretty easily. It doesn't involve a lot of effort. It can be done very quickly because all these are offering you a programmatic and an automated fashion to achieve these integrations. So now in summary, traffic telemetry, we know that the traffic telemetry is required for various business operations and security requirements. And irrespective of where you are running, you need this information. In OCI, we offer traffic telemetry capabilities natively to get these telemetry natively using the services that we have. We saw those services. Those are the flow logs. You have virtual tap, and we have access logs from specific resources that you can use in order to analyze and look at the traffic and look at what is happening. Using the native capability within OCI makes it cost effective and operationally efficient. You don't have to deploy the third party. You don't have to manage the services that will generate the traffic telemetry for you. So we natively give that. We run these service for you, and you are simply consuming this. You are simply enabling this And if you don't need it, whenever you don't need it, you can turn it off when you're done with it. So you have all the controls and easy to operate using the native services. We saw the third party integrations that we have. And in addition, we also saw how you can use the native OCA services like log analytics in order to ingest this information and then uh, take advantage of the analytics capabilities and write your own correlation rules and such to create the insights. All the architecture that we described here and for each of the use cases are pretty common use cases that we come across in every customer scenario. So, but the different tools to use and everything that we have shown here is for guidance and use this as a starting point. You may have to tailor this, you may have to adapt this based on your environment, based on what traffic you have, what your requirements are. So you may have to adjust these. For example, in certain cases, you may want to use flow logs and VTAC together, right? So there may be situations like that. So you may have to tailor these, but these are good starting points. Start with these and make adjustments depending on what you need. I have also included certain reference resources that you can get started with. For example, flow logs. So if you go to that, you will see the schema that we have and how to enable flow logs. A similar thing around the VTAP, how to enable, configure the VTAP, what is required to set up various things on the analytics side. So you will see that. And I have also included information about the various access logs that are available. Use these as starting point, and you can always reach out to us if you have questions. And with that, actually, that's a wrap for this presentation. And thank you very much for staying on and then listening to this presentation. Hope this was informational for you and this gave you what you are looking for. Thank you very much.